Angela Fazio is an industry powerhouse who has overseen 40,000 homes sold and $9 billion in production. And Kristen Cantrell is one of the nation's most accomplished team leaders, helping thousands of agents build their businesses. They are passionate about educating, encouraging, and empowering moms in real estate. Our next episode starts now.
Hey, you guys. Welcome to Moms in Real Estate. I'm Kristen Cantrell.
And I'm Angela Fazio. Our guest this week is Sheridan Kimble from Houston, Texas.
And Sheridan is a brand new real estate agent with 2 kids and 1 on the way. So Sheridan, why don't you get us started and tell us a little bit about yourself?
So I just want to start off by saying thank you so much for this opportunity. I have listened to podcasts for years, and so whenever you guys reached out to me to do this, I was just like kind of starstruck and so excited. So I just want to say thank you so much for the opportunity
You
to be
are
able
so
to
welcome.
do this. So a little bit about me. I'm 28. There he is. I know it was going to happen.
There he is.
I have 2 kiddos. I have an 8-year-old daughter and then a 4-year-old son. He's going to probably come sit on my lap. And then I'm almost 34 weeks pregnant with our third. I met my husband. We've been together for I think 13 years this year. We met in high school. We graduated from the same high school. We were high school sweethearts. And we've kind of just gone all over the place. He was in the military, so that's where our life essentially started. And then whenever he got out, he got into the oil field. And we were living in West Texas, and our daughter was going to start school soon. And I had just had my son, and I told him, I was like, babe, like, I don't think I can stay out here because I was just like, the schools aren't that great. So we went out to East Texas, and so like kind of just like my introduction into real estate as well is I met my real estate agent out there through like realtor.com. I just like put an inquiry in through there, and she was so amazing, and we met. I had never met her before. We had just talked on the phone, and she showed me some properties, and I just she ended up saying, she's like, I want to offer this to anybody, but like, do you want to come back to my house and write up your offer? And I was like, sure, like, yeah, like, I don't mind. And so we did that, and she was like, we became friends through it, and she was like, you should consider getting into real estate. But at the time I had a 6-month-old baby. My husband was gone all the time, and I was like, I just don't think the timing is right now. And I was struggling with like postpartum anxiety and depression and stuff like that. And so my husband was like, you have to get into this. And so I wish I would have listened to them and got into it, 4 years ago. But it kind of took me some time, with COVID happening. And then at the same time, the price war on oil was happening as well. And so we kind of got hit from 2 different sides, and it was really hard for us. And so we ended up moving into our camper and going back to West Texas. And at the time when we moved back, my husband was like, you have to get into this. Like, you have to, like, there's no other option. And I was like, you know what? Like, I know I'm a very relational person, and I love people. I love helping individuals. And so I was like, I knew it was just something I had to do. And so the world was crashing around us. We went from a 2,300 square foot house in literally one of the most beautiful parts of Texas on a half acre to a 28-foot camper in the middle of nowhere in West Texas. And while everything was going down, I just like prayed so hard, and I was like, God, I have exhausted so many things. I have done so many things. If this is meant for me, with everything else going on, just give me this one thing. And so I actually posted on social media, and I like posting like on stories on Instagram, because I always like going back and looking at it just to like have that little reminder where you're like, this is where I started from, And so the day I took my test was like a year, like almost to the day, a year prior, I had posted on social media, like, God, if there's nothing else that you give me this one thing. And so I'm not a good student. I only took like 3 classes for college. And I passed on the first try, and I literally fell to the ground at
I
the
remember you
testing
telling me
center.
this. It's awesome.
I fell to the ground at the testing center, and the lady, like, at the proctor or whatever, she like leaned over and she's like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "I can't believe it. I just passed." And I was like, "I swear to God." And I even prayed about it. I was like, "God, do not give me a lot of math questions because I'm not good at math." Majority of my like so many of my questions were math, and I was like, I'm like sitting there and I'm like, I freaking bombed it. I know it. Like, and I'm just going through because I'm like, it's timed, you know? So that's essentially how, like, that's my story about like how I got into real estate and stuff like that. Like from, you know, when I started until I took my test.
I think so many people can literally relate with like when they get told you passed, being like, "Are you freaking kidding me?" Like, there's no way I passed because that test sucks. If you're listening
It does.
and
The
you're
test
about
sucks.
to get licensed, it's a
Get
lot,
through
but
it.
you can get through it.
Yeah.
Yes, you will. And I always I told myself too, I was like, if for some reason I don't pass, nobody cares. Like,
That's right.
nobody cares how many times it took you to pass your test, because nobody asked that. Literally no one asked that. So don't stress about that or worry about it, because it's not like some accolade. Like, you get 2 pieces of paper, you don't get a trophy once you pass it, you know?
Right.
So don't put so much pressure on yourself. Just study, go take it. If you fail, try again. And then if you fail again, just keep going until you pass it.
So we help a lot of real estate agents people get into real estate. And one thing I tell, like, my husband is one of the most, he's a genius. He's like,
So is mine.
he's so smart. And it took him 5 times to pass that test. And he
Not
was
a test taker.
Yeah, not a test taker. We were super, super successful in real estate. It has absolutely no bearing on your ability to be successful in real estate.
It's more about, can you memorize? Like, you don't even need to understand it.
You don't even have to. Exactly.
Yeah.
And let's be honest.
I love about your story. Number one, I love that God had to bring you like to a point where you were almost forced to get into real estate because you weren't making the decision on your own. And then, so it doesn't surprise me that when you asked for him to help you, he was probably like, well, duh, what do you think all the circumstances were for? Because I want you in real estate.
Yeah. So, and I think about it, and I actually, so like one of the time, like through that time, it was extremely difficult on me because me and my husband, whenever we graduated, we had nothing. He actually graduated early to join the military, and I still had 2 years of high school left. So when I graduated a week later, I was only 17, and I went up to Alaska and I went and lived with him, and we had nothing. Like, we we had like no money, and so like sometimes we were having to like eat from the chow hall, so we had worked so hard over a 6-year period after him getting out of the military to like build us up to this point where we felt like, oh my gosh, we freaking made it. Like, this is it. Like, this is our mountaintop. And to essentially have that swooped out from underneath you, not because of anything of our own doing, like when you join or whenever you're a part of the oil field, I always tell people, I'm like, you don't expect necessarily to get laid off, but you prepare for it, right? And so we prepared, but nothing prepares you for a pandemic.
Right.
And also what we got hit with as well, so moving into a camper that's tiny in the middle of nowhere, and I'm a very relational person, it was extremely difficult. And so, I end up getting a tattoo, my first tattoo.
Hey, that's not bad.
Yeah,
that's not bad.
What was your first tattoo?
What is it?
It's my son. It's the, like, God. Here, give me a second. If I can turn my arm. Like, God is greater than the highs and lows.
Oh, yeah.
Because I told myself I needed to have, like, a daily reminder. And something I really wanted to mention during this, too, was in that time frame, it was a really, really low point for me. It was really hard to see anything getting better. And so there's this guy on social media, his name is Charlie, and he's very philanthropic in what he does to help people. And he's very big into like quantum physics and stuff like that, which I'm a Christian through and through, but I also believe in, some things. And going through all of that, I heard a podcast that he had did, and he said, your blessings are out there. Time just hasn't had the opportunity to catch up yet. Mm-hmm. And so when I heard that, I was like, that is going to be my life motto every day, because if what right now isn't serving me and I don't feel like it's meant for me, something else is out there, and that's okay. Like, and because I'm one of those people, like, I'm a problem solver. So I don't like to sit around and just so wait for things to happen. I'm like, what can we do right now? So I have to remind myself, pause and just understand that the universe and God is working around you, and your blessings are out there. Time just hasn't had an opportunity to catch up yet.
That's an excellent way to think about it. So patience is hard for her.
And you.
It must be the blonde hair.
Yeah.
No, it's hard for me.
Well, you're blonde too.
Well, I am. Yes, I'm actually not a natural blonde, not black. So one of the things that you had talked about as a new agent that I think is important for our audience to hear, because it's wise. It's really wise. And you're the best. I love your attitude, by the way.
Oh, I love you guys. It's
really great attitude. Is you had said, as a new agent, I had asked you, what do you think that new agents need to hear? So talk to us a little bit about that.
So, do not, if there is one thing, there's two different things I can say to that. Do not compare yourself to anybody. It is so difficult not to compare yourself to what other agents are doing. We have monthly awards meetings, and obviously you're extremely happy for your colleagues and stuff like that. And you want to see them succeed, and, you lean into them, like what's worked for you. That's something that I've actually asked agents recently who I've done transactions with, like, give me some good stuff. Like, tell me what'll keep me going through this. Cause the first 2 years are the most difficult. And so, it's not comparing yourself in the sense of you are at a certain stage in your life that someone else is not. For me personally, right now, I have 2 children. I have 2 young kids. I have an 8-year-old and a 4-year-old, and they are demanding of my time. And I have a newborn that's about to come, and she's going to be very demanding of my time. And so I have to humble myself and remember that what I'm doing right now, maybe it's not going to pay me out in 3 months or 6 months. No, I'm not getting awards at every monthly award meeting, and that's okay. Like, this business is what you make of it. That's the beauty in being an entrepreneur, is that you get to decide what your business looks like. You get to decide how it's ran. Something that I've learned as well is don't try and recreate the wheel. Do what people have done in your footsteps, or, in front of you. Follow what they're doing. It's okay. It's okay to, copy someone and do, what they're doing if they've been successful with it. And so that's kind of how I, try to keep myself in line, is what my business looks like is totally different than someone else's. And so something else that I tell myself as well is, something that's really important is find someone who has been in your shoes before and lean into them and hold on to them so tight, and ask them if they can be a mentor to you, because a lot of the times they will say yes, and because they'll be so humbled that you're even asking them, and so hold on to someone that has been in your same shoes. I can't relate to a guy, because even, someone who's married, I can't relate to him because my life looks a lot different than what theirs does. My schedule looks so different what theirs does. My husband He's home every night now, but I still have to get up, get our kids together, get me together, and try to get us out to out of the door before the bell rings at the school. And, I do, then I go work or do what I need to, and then I have to be back to pick up my kids. And so last night, for example, I had to go unlock the door for my client so they can move in, and that was at 7:30 at night. So for other people, that's where we fit it in, and so for other people, they could have done it at noon,
Right.
So find someone that you can look up to and lean into as a mentor, whoever that is. Maybe they don't even have to be in real estate. They can just have a successful business, and allow them to help you, create a schedule and, not just create it, but implement it and stick to it. Somebody who's going to hold you accountable and things like that.
Well, I think what you said is so important. I had a new agent reach out to me one time, and she was like on a team, and there was a guy that was a team lead. Nothing wrong with guys, but he's, telling her she's not going to be successful if she can't be in the office from this time to this time, making her cold calls and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, why is he mentoring you? I'm like, you need to go find a chick that's killing it with little kids.
That's right.
And so I hooked her up with someone that did. And it's like, you really, what you said is very remarkable, because it is, you do need to find somebody who's been exactly where you're at and who's succeeded exactly where you're at. The other thing is, I don't know what it is about the real estate industry, but we constantly have to tell like how much production everybody does. And I always think about it like in the esthetician world, like, are we talking about how many people you waxed yesterday? You know what I mean? And it's like, and my husband actually, like, it's a big joke between him and I, because I'm always like, oh, I'm going to like an awards locally, like whatever. And he's always like, how many like pats on the back do you guys need?
I know, seriously.
Like,
egomaniacs in this
business.
It's
so insane.
Yeah. And it's like, I think too, like, don't seek out validation from other people. Like, you have to find out yourself. Like, you have to give your own self a pat on the back. And that can be for anything. That can be little wins. If you got up and you made your calls or your touches or whatever your business looks like, that's a win. Like, not everything has to end up in a transaction.
Yeah. And I'm telling you, Sheridan, you will appreciate this. I have to tell myself, even on certain days, I'm like, it doesn't really matter what anyone else thinks. Jesus Christ saved me. He called me a daughter. That's all the validation I need. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's exactly. So hard though.
Yes, no, 100%. And I think, I get into calls sometimes with fellow agents, and I just like want to give them a hug, because I understand, because I also know the struggle of what that feels like to, kind of be a people pleaser, and like want to do everything for everyone, and then to seek that if you fail, not even fail, but if there's like a slip up, you really take that, and you have to process it, and you feel like a failure, but that's not the case. And that's something else, I personally struggle with, is like people pleasing. You cannot please everyone.
No, you cannot.
You just can't. And, real estate is an incredible industry, but it's hard in the sense that you have so many different types of personalities all trying to blend and make this one thing work. And that one thing is, closing the transaction, so that's kind of been a struggle for me, is dealing with other people's personalities and trying to figure out like, okay, how do I keep myself chill so my clients are getting stressed out, keep them calm, and then keep the other side of the transaction intact as well, so last night, perfect example, my client, she needed to bring something, and she's like, I can't find it, like I'm freaking out. And I'm like, look, if the other agent's not freaking out and I'm fine, like don't worry about it, like we'll deal with it tomorrow, like just get into your house, like it's not a big deal, this is an issue that we can fix tomorrow, like let's not even worry about it.
Good for you. Well, yeah. You've been so delightful. I mean, honestly, Sheridan, for being 28 years old and a new agent, you have so much confidence and wisdom and optimism. Like, I love it. It's contagious. So thank you so much for being a guest of ours.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. And again, just like this been such a delight for me too, because I'm like, I'm not really anybody special, but you know, everybody has a story. And even if, you know, you don't have a plethora of knowledge to share, something that you say or something that you share can resonate with someone else.
Absolutely. You're so right. So if there is anyone listening, you're like, well, I want to be a guest on Moms in Real Estate, contact us. Go to our Instagram and send us a message and we will talk. So thanks again, Sheridan. It's been wonderful.
Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it.